Hey guys, Forrest at JJP Mechanical Reps here in Nashville. Tonight I want to talk about some fire smoke dampers. So there are fire dampers that are designed to keep the heat on one side, but they do allow smoke to go through. And then there are smoke dampers that have rubber linings that are designed to keep smoke on this side, but not necessarily stand up to a direct fire. This is a combination of those two, so it is a fire and smoke damper. So if there's an active fire on this side, it will keep it from going through, and likewise it'll control the smoke going through. So depending on the ratings of walls and applications in certain buildings, you might need one of these. So one thing that you'll notice is it's got this big actuator hanging off the side. Generally, you want the actuator out of the airstream, because if it was in the airstream, it's going to cause turbulence and a pressure drop. But some applications, you might not have access to this on the outside, and so we can put the actuator on the inside. We can put this junction box on the inside, and that way you would only have one access into the inside. Now, you always have to have an access where you can see in the inside, because code is going to require you to visually inspect this to be sure that it's working. Right? So in its normal position, these dampers are going to have the blades open because air is going to be flowing through there. So when you apply power to this, it will be a normally open damper. If we were to pull the power, if we unplugged it, if you lost building power, whatever, this will shut and this will close. And that's because in an emergency situation, those things could happen, and that's what you want to happen. All right, so there's a reset switch out here that you can push to make it open. There's this right here. This little round thing is our sensor. All right, so there's a tiny little button right here. This is our heat sensor. So if this got very hot, it would trip. Also, if you push it, it will trip. All right, so it does come in different temperatures, so you could set it for like 165, 212. That's a factory setting. But if you were doing a room that's going to be normally hot, or it's going to be having hot air coming through this duct, you might want to set it for a higher one so that it doesn't think that there's a fire when there's not. That makes sense. You can also see possibly this extra little arm. So this extra little arm is connected to the damper, and what it does is it has a set of contacts in there. You can run that back to through this junction box. You can run it back to your BAS or to your fire alarm system to tell it, hey, the damper is actually opened or actually closed. So it's physically looking at the linkage and doing that. But again, you have to visually inspect it annually. Well, not annually. First year of operation, every 4 years. In hospitals, apparently it's 6 years. All right. So you have to visually inspect it, but that will talk back to your BAS. If you needed to go to a fire alarm panel and a BAS, you can also get one on the actuator. So there'd be an extra pigtail that came off of here, and you could run this one to your fire alarm and that one to your BAS, or however you would like to do that. So you got this little junction box. This is where we can wire it up. There's a big orange sticker right here, and this shows where the wall would go. So this lets you know, especially if you had a longer sleeve or something like that you couldn't see, this shows you this is the part that needs to be in the wall. So the wall doesn't need to be exactly centered up with that, but it does need to have at least half of that in the wall. The center line should be in the wall. We can get this sleeve in various thicknesses, but standard is 20 gauge. We can make it a little bit thicker if you need to as well. You can make it varying lengths, so if you had a really thick wall, we could also make this custom lengths to fit your application. You can't really get it much shorter because you still have to have room for this and for the dampers to move and things like that. All right. One thing that I want to show you and be sure that you see and hear about Greenheck dampers in particular is this very small lip. All right, so this is going to be open, and this is going to be operating in your building just like this all the time when your fans are on. And obstructions like this in your airflow can really kill your fan horsepower. You can have to ramp your fan horsepower up, oversizing things. getting rid of some of your flexibility and maybe some of your cushion that you like to put in there when you're designing it, right? So our dampers come in, the physical dampers themselves come in 4, 5, 6, and 7-inch pieces. What that allows us to do is an infinite number of combinations to get exactly the right size within that box. All right, so some of our competitors will use like an 8-inch blade, and then they'll cut it in half so that you've got 4s. So if you had an 8-inch damper, for instance, you might use one 8-inch damper. But now what if we need a 10-inch? Well, if you've only got an 8 and a 4 to work with, in a 10-inch, you're probably going to use a 1, and then you're going to have like a block-off plate, which is going to add a lot of static. Because that's the only options they have. So what we could do is we could use a 5 and a 5. Now we've got a 10-inch, and we've got as much free area as possible. So that's one advantage that Greenheck really has over some of our competitors, is this very small lip right here, very low restrictions. There's AMCA testing showing us being below 0.1 of an inch. Of a pressure drop, and some of our competition being over 0.3. All right, so that's a really big difference. You had 3 of these in a system, it would be an inch overall, you know. So anyway, fire smoke damper. I think it's awesome. I think it's fun. Do you want to see it squish a banana? Let's see if it will. I don't know why this is fun to me. I just think that it is. Oh, duh. I want to push this one in here. There are a couple of other options on this. We can get it to where it will... Oh yeah, it's squishing it. It's squishing it hard. You could have a fire override. So there are a couple of other options outside of the ones that I've shown you here. There's a test switch that you could push. It would make a momentary contact. You could hold it down instead of pushing the button in there and pushing the button out here. Anyway, we can get the angles. We can factory install the angles that would do this. You can also do the breakaway connections. Those are all options that we can do. So that is what happens if you are a banana and you are in the fire smoke damper. It's unfortunate for you. So anyway, I hope this was educational. I hope it was maybe a little bit entertaining. I think I'm hilarious sometimes. So thanks. Write comments if it was helpful, and let us know if we can help you with anything. Take care.